Hey, it's Christine from Storyworthy. Today on the show, the co-creator of The Daily Show on Comedy Central and a longtime producer for David Letterman, Madele Smithberg, talks about coming up with the act Border Collies Herding Sheep on David Letterman.
So I went to the Texas State Fair and I was scouting for Letterman. And at the Texas State Fair was a thing you could go watch. It was Border Collies Herding Sheep. And there was this really lovely man from Ireland. And he had these amazing dogs. They could understand 36 different whistles. So I knew Dave was going to love these dogs because they were just like, you can't figure out. I know so many humans that aren't that intelligent. So I booked it and we brought it to our studio in 30 Rockefeller Plaza.
Today on the show, Madele Smithberg, who has a brand new show on YouTube called Mad in the Kitchen, talks about working for David Letterman, working on The Daily Show, and much more. Stay close.
Hi, this is Madele Smithberg, and you're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show or a new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the show last week with actress Iris Barr. Madele, I don't know if you know Iris Barr.
No, I don't know her, but I love her already.
I love her, and this is how you'll know her. Do you remember on Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry was on the ski lift? And he wouldn't get off the ski lift, but the woman next to him, she was Orthodox Jewish, and she couldn't be caught with a man after sundown, and the ski lift stopped, so she had to jump.
She jumped off. I remember that.
That was Iris Barr.
Oh my God, fabulous!
Anyway, she's a great girl. She told a great story about being in the Sinai Desert and then finding herself with no sanitary. It was crazy. So go back, you guys, listen to Iris Barr from last week's Storyworthy, but not today, because today I'm super excited about my guest for many reasons, of which you'll certainly find out very soon. But of course, number one is because she was the co-creator of The Daily Show, which is, one of my favorite shows of all time. And she worked with Letterman, which her show is about today, actually. The title of the show today, you guys, Border Collies Herding Sheep. It's from David Letterman's episode where they did a segment called Border Collies Herding Sheep. And I actually remember this because when I was in high school is when Letterman came out. And then I was in college, 83 to 87. And every night I would go in front of, in my dorm room, in the center, we had in the dorm, you had a center area where there was one TV, and we would crowd in that room and I would do sit-ups to David Letterman. That's my memory. But I mean, it was just like a routine thing. And I remember the one gag that always got me was when he would say to Paul, we've been on the air 45 years now. We've been on the air 38 years. And I kept thinking that can't be right. That can't be right. But I was 18. Anyway, so those things, I'm thrilled about having Madele Smithberg on the show today. But even more so, honestly, is that you have created this cooking show that is cracking me up. You guys, it's called Mad in the Kitchen. And my audience knows that I don't cook. I mean, I cook a little and I try, and I've definitely watched cooking shows, but they're always way beyond me. And I can't even get past the kitchen they're in. You know what I mean? But Madele Smithberg has broken it down, and she's got to show you guys. Got to check it out on YouTube. It's called Mad in the Kitchen. And boy, I got so many questions for you, Madele.
Well, far away.
Okay, you are so into heat. What's that about?
What do you mean, in cooking?
Yeah.
I think that people are scared. Home cooks are scared of heat. And so they're so timid that they don't cook the food properly. And that doesn't mean just put it on high and leave it on high till it turns into charcoal. It means monitor. I said in my first episode, it's funny because we were talking about this morning because I made sunny side up eggs and I started really hot because I like the white part to be crispy and crunchy, but I want the yolk to be completely liquid. So I dance with the heat. That's what I call it. I turn it way up until you can see it like crispy crunching. And then when you start getting hit with little particles of oil, that's when you know, turn it way down. And then if I think it's too slow, I'll turn it up a little. And I think that people are scared of the heat and they use it wrong. And it's no fault of their own. No one's taught them. But that's what I'm here for.
I had absolutely no idea you were supposed to turn the heat up and down. That I never, ever heard that in my life.
Yeah, no, I figured it out, but a lot of it came from when I started working as a chef, and I would see, we have these incredible stoves at work at Blue Ribbon Cooking, where I do corporate team building, and I'm Chef Madele, and I have, jackets with my name embroidered, and really terrible shoes that are on the Croc spectrum. Now, they're not Crocs; they're called like Comfort Fit, even worse. But they sure could be, mistaken for Crocs.
Right.
But you realize before I got them, I slipped and I fell holding a tray that was hot. And I said, you know what? I know I'm from New York and fashion can be important to me, but it's time to let go.
Yeah.
And just, arm yourself for safety.
Now on the show on YouTube, Mad in the Kitchen, you do wear the smock sometimes, like you did last night, making that sheet pan.
Sheep, lazy person.
Yeah. Oh man, that was
sheep
exciting.
Pan dinner.
It's
good.
So last night you wore this really cool, beautiful, like a chef. It was like black and had pink buttons. It was so sweet. But then other times you're not wearing that.
Well, I think I'm gonna wear the chef coats because I have them.
And your emblem right there.
Exactly. And it's just easier. I was wearing just aprons and shirts, but then I ran out of shirts that were appropriate for being, I don't have a spokesperson or a celebrity wardrobe. So I just said, you know what, let's go with our chef coats. And I've got a bunch
I like
of
it.
them.
No, it's a good look. Now let me tell the audience why this cooking show is just so different than any other show. First of all, it's flippin' funny. You are so naturally funny. Even when the camera first starts, you're like, hi. So we're laughing right away. But also, your kitchen is normal.
It's a normal kitchen.
Normal things. And then at first, it seems like, oh, this is like a do-it-yourself cooking show. But then, somebody has some experience because it's slick. And you've got stuff coming in from the sides, and you've got incredible graphics. And so I hear you talking to a person named Sam behind the camera.
Sam is my husband, and he's the reason I moved to Seattle. And Sam and I dated in 1986, and he dumped me on the same day I got my job at Letterman, which is just crazy. And then he found me again on Facebook. And 34 years later, we just got married. Our wedding was canceled. We were supposed to get married on the 21st of March in Mexico. Instead, on the 14th of March, we went to the courthouse and got married by a zero charisma judge. But it was perfect.
Wow.
And now we're in our honeymoon in quarantine.
Wait a minute. That's a fascinating story right there. So was it like a destination wedding? It was just going to be the two of you?
No, it was a destination.
Were people coming?
Oh, 65 of them.
Wow. And then did you cancel it, or how did that work?
Okay. So people were dropping. It was like Jiffy Pop. Like, you know how when you make Jiffy Pop popcorn, in the beginning, it's just a couple of like pink, and then it picks up and it's like pink, and then all of a sudden it goes all crazy and the thing's coming up. And if you wait too long, you burn some. It was exactly like that without the popcorn. And people just started canceling. And it was like, oh, they're canceling this virus thing, whatever. It's like the flu. What do we care? It's not in Mexico. And then every day a few more. But we were still saying up until we got married on the 14th, which was a Saturday. We had an appointment with the judge. And that night we still were going to Mexico in a week.
Yeah.
Or the following, Tuesday. Yeah. And, but we woke up on the morning of the 14th, and it was like every single one of his people had canceled.
Wow.
My friends in New York were begging me. There were a couple of ride or dies that would have come, and I appreciate them for that. But I woke up and I thought, we got to pull the plug. It just became incredibly clear.
Yeah.
And so the morning before I went to get married, I canceled my wedding.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and in Spanish. So I was like, canceling airlines and the caterer and the cake and the flowers
And the
and the
hotel
DJ and the
rooms.
hotel rooms and then went and got married. It was so surreal.
Yeah.
It was like an out of body experience. And then for 3 weeks, I was actually really, really, really sad because I'm a producer.
Yeah.
And this was a wedding that I waited 34 years. It was like a victory lap.
Yeah.
And I felt empty. And here we were locked in our house. And I would just look at I had rhinestone flip-flops and my dress and 65 bags of biodegradable confetti. And,
wow.
I was carrying the the votive candles because you can't ship
It's
them.
exciting. Yeah. It's exciting to plan stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
and it just is in your head and you're
of
living it and
course.
living it. And then one day it was just poof, it was gone. And I was just devastated. But
I
then
don't blame you.
I allowed myself to grieve the wedding and not feel guilty about it. Because I read an
Yeah.
article that says it's allowed to grieve your own personal losses.
Yeah.
And I believe everything I read. So that really helped.
Well, it is a loss, though. It is a loss, obviously.
It was a total
It's
loss.
so interesting that what people lost. And, like I haven't seen my mom in a year, and I was on my way back to Pittsburgh, and she was going to meet my new boyfriend for the first time. And now I'm not there. And she's 85. And, shit. It's been a long time. And so it's just everybody's been affected so differently. So is this when you decided to make the cooking show with Sam?
Yeah, in quarantine. Because, okay, so I'm telling you, I've told you 18 stories. I'm a producer, right? We already talked about The Daily Show. I worked at Letterman. I had a production company in LA. I've done shows for every network you can possibly think of.
Right.
And then when Sam asked me 3 years ago to move to Seattle, I had been working in New York, and he said, "Why don't you move to Seattle?" My kid had gone to college. I'd given up my place in Sherman Oaks. So I just said, "Sure." And then realized I have never been there. And not only did I move myself, I moved my mom. My mom is in assisted living. She has dementia. She's 89.
Wow.
I can't see her, even though she's a mile away from me. We FaceTime. It's kind of surreal.
Yeah.
Because she's no idea.
Yeah, I was going to say, what does she think?
She was wondering, when are we going to get together?
She doesn't have any idea about the
Nothing.
The
and I've told her because I'm like, fuck you. You don't get to be oblivious. But no, I love her so much. But I tell her.
So now you're Seattle. Are you on the water, near the water?
No. I'm in Bellevue, which is called the East Side. It's incredibly beautiful and lush and green with giant cedar trees. And we have just flowers everywhere and dogwood and blossoms. And you can hike to a waterfall 5 minutes from my house. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, they call it the Evergreen State, right? So
yeah, and they are
it.
not lying.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I moved here 3 years ago in April, and I thought, I'll still try to get TV shows on the air. And so I was shuttling between New York, LA, and I had 3 projects in the beginning of the year that were about to go. And then within a space of 3 weeks, they all evaporated. And then it was February, and Sam was working full time, and it was getting dark by 4 o'clock, and it was raining all the time. And so he had given me a cooking class for Christmas, knowing that I love food and cooking. So I took I took something called knife skills, and I went to the class. It was 3 hours chopping, and the teacher was a chef. And at the end of it, he asked if he could talk to me, and I was sure he was going to go, "Thanks for being so disruptive. I'm trying to do something here. You're clowning around." And I was like, "Well, cutting carrots needs to be a little bit more, interesting than just cutting them." And he said, "Have you ever taught cooking?" And I kind of went like, "Is he talking to me?" I tried to teach my son to make a frittata, but he lost interest. And he said, "Yeah, I run a cooking school in Seattle, We do corporate team building for all the, Seattle tech companies. And you have a great personality and you love food, and we can teach you everything else. So they hired me and they basically threw me in the deep end.
Oh my gosh.
And here I am, like, it's a TV producer who likes food and 20 really amazing, highly trained, very experienced actual chefs that have gone to culinary school and worked on the line and have catering companies. And the first year was terrifying and it was dangerous.
Yeah.
I got burnt like 4 times, and they told me it's called the blue ribbon tattoo. And I was like, I'm not a tattoo person. And
So
but then,
what was it like? What was the schedule?
well, I work usually anywhere from like 2 to 4, sometimes during the holidays and stuff. 5 days a week. I taught a kids camp, which was intense and
All cooking based.
all cooking. And we do like we do like little Iron Chefs. So
Yeah, cute.
I'll be assigned a protein, and I'll have as many as 13, as few as 7 people on my team on a butcher block, and we have 90 minutes to make a main course, 2 side dishes, and a dessert. Go! And we're competing against all the other teams, which sometimes are 9 other teams, and we're competing for oven space. It's so fun and it's so exciting, and I love it and they love it. And, in the beginning, I was so embarrassed, like, these poor people are getting me, like, I don't have any training. But I realized, yes, you do. You were taken to Europe when you were 12.
Yeah, you
You've
have
been
the
cooking.
Tuscany. You have the Tuscany
I have a house
experience.
in Tuscany, and I used to produce all the cooking demos on Letterman
Letterman.
because I was the human interest producer. So I was getting private cooking lessons from Julia Child.
Wow. I'm telling you, this is so interesting because when you watch the show, you guys, Mad in the Kitchen on YouTube, it does not look like all this backstory went into it. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't look like you're a valid chef. It just looks like you're doing it so simply, even somebody like me can understand, I think is what I'm trying to
That's
say.
sort of what my idea is. And that's because I'm not just a chef, I'm a teaching chef.
Yeah.
And so I'm very used to demystifying the process of cooking for people that might be intimidated
Sure.
and don't trust. And so that's what I've been doing for the past 2
So
years.
honestly, then the quarantine actually has helped in a way. I mean, not helped, but I mean, look at this is coming out of it.
Yes, exactly. So the quarantine happens, and of course, like, corporate team building cooking events are like the first thing to go.
Yeah.
Like, they just done. And I realized, oh my God, the thing that gave me this pivot to a new career at the age of 60 is gone.
Yeah.
It's just gone. And
That does
so,
sound like it does sound like a good like team building exercise, as it were. Like I'm not a big fan of when they make everybody get together and do stuff, but that sounds like fun.
no, they love it. They
Yeah.
love it. My
Yeah.
people love it,
I
and
bet they do.
everybody loves it. But
Okay.
they always, so then all of a sudden, my job is gone.
Yeah.
And so instead, I had always been thinking, Madeleine, you've made so many people famous. Like, I'm a talent producer, and I've produced so many cooking demos as well as TV series and shows, and I've handheld, and I've taught so many people on talk shows how to hold a book. Like, they hold a book with their fingers in front of it, and I've just taught them to hold it from underneath, and they are like, "Oh my God, I never would have thought of that." There's so many. I've taught people how to, sort of play with the camera, but I never wanted to be on camera.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
was terrified. I just didn't like it. I felt like it was too much pressure. Well, this pandemic took away all of my excuses.
I love it. I think that's so great. I mean, in other words, you took a terrible situation and you can realize, like, oh my God, things can be a lot worse than me bombing a cooking show. You know?
Exactly. And I first bought this rig so I could do it by myself.
Yeah.
But when I used the rig by myself, I just photographed myself from like my collarbones to my belly button. So I was like, okay. So Sam now is my cameraman. And then out of the ether, I get a phone call from a person that I know named Sky Gleason, who's an editor. And you were talking about the graphics. And he said, I need to edit your show. And I was
Oh,
like, okay.
that is
So,
such a gift.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You guys, you got to check it out. I have a few more questions about the show, then we're going to get to your story. Okay. You love tongs.
I love tongues.
I love tongs, but
They're
you,
great.
you are so funny. You said on one show, you said, I don't regret buying any of these. And you have
I have a
like
lot. I have like 10.
12 pair. Yeah.
But the tongue technology has gotten so much more evolved since I was a kid. It used to be just the metal ones that would go click, click and didn't like hold anything. But
Yeah.
now that they've got this sort of silicone on them,
Yeah. And also because you don't scrape the pan, you don't ruin the
yeah,
pans.
and they're pretty. I have like these like lime green and hot pink tongs. I
Yeah.
love tongs.
Okay, I got two more questions. And then I'm going to tell you a couple shows I want to see. Okay, one
Okay.
question is how come, like last night when you're making that tandoori adjacent chicken or whatever that was, you didn't take any of the fat off the chicken? I always cut the fat off. I give it to the cat.
I believe that the fat gives flavor, and I'm a Jewish Catholic mutt, or mixed
Mhm.
breed, and my Jewish grandmother was sort of very important in my life. And chicken fat is schmaltz, and it's one of the life's true gifts. And so I didn't take the fat off intentionally. You can take the fat off.
Yeah, but
I
what do you eat it?
No, when I'm eating it, I cut it off at the end and sort of put it on the side, but
Side.
I let it cook in because I believe that it adds flavor, and I think that flavor is king.
Fair enough. What is a shallot?
Oh, very nice. A shallot is a cross between an onion and garlic. So it's somewhere in the middle, and it's sweeter than an onion. I don't know how that totally works, but it's not nearly as garlicky as garlic. And shallots caramelize beautifully, and they have a lot more flavor than an onion. They're also smaller, so I hate when I use an onion and I only need half, and then I have half an onion in my refrigerator, making everything smell like onion.
But you can get those tiny little onions too, like pearl-sized ones.
Just taste a shallot. You'll like it.
When you cut a shallot, does your eyes water like an onion?
A little less, but eventually. Depends. If you do just one shallot, you should be okay. But if you do two or three, you probably will start sort of like, tearing up and blinking.
I also think there's a tongue twister there, like she shells shallots down by the something.
Yes, she shall have shallots in Shalimar.
The second question to that is what I'd like to see you do, honestly. I mean, when we get back to normal, is go grocery shopping. Take somebody like me or somebody who doesn't know grocery shopping. Because, like, question, where do you get a shallot? Where's that?
Yeah, it's everywhere. Trader Joe's has them.
Is it
Yeah.
in a jar?
No, 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 it's next to the onions,
Oh, it's right in the produce.
right in the produce. But yes, shopping would be amazing. I don't know if I can do that right now.
And the other one I'd love you to do is just to give us a beginner set of what we should have in the kitchen. Because
Yes.
I have a lot of what you have, but what I don't have, and I think people probably need if you're a good chef, is one of those pans that's like a deep dish and it's level.
Yeah.
So not a frying pan.
No, it's I forget what those are called, but like yes, I will do that. I mean, I think I should do some tutorials because someone was saying they had to go and shop, and I was like, really? You don't have cumin? Like I thought everyone should have
And
cumin.
then you talked about turmeric or something, and I don't know any ideas. And luckily, you do hold up the products usually. Like when you held up that salmon and it was so pink, and I'm like, why does that salmon look different than mine? And you're like, oh, this is from Alaska,
Yeah,
sockeye or something. And I
yeah.
never knew that distinction. So, there's just a lot of things that luckily you do like you hold up the cumin or you hold up and then I also buy a lot of stuff at Trader Joe's, so I know the products.
Right.
I
I
can
also started after like episode 2, I've started posting the recipes themselves
yeah.
on the YouTube page, which I'm hoping is helpful. And where available, I'm doing sort of ways you can alter and make adjustments if you're vegetarian or vegan.
Yeah.
If you're gluten free, you're on your own.
Well, and also just letting us know what all those spices are, because I definitely don't. I have like sugar, cinnamon, and salt and pepper.
I'll do that. I'm actually getting I just one of these other weird right out of the ether. I've gotten connected with the most amazing company called Burlap and Barrel, and they go all over the world and source the most amazing spices from local farmers and distribute them to chefs and normal people. And once I get my shipment, I think what I'll do is go through that so you can see.
That'd be neat.
Yeah.
And then also, like when you splash on either wine or olive oil, I'm gonna go with like somebody like me. That didn't look like a splash. Those looks like a half a cup. I'd like to see those splashes measured because it looks like a lot to me.
Well, in the recipes, I put the actual amounts.
And then two more. I have so many thoughts on this show. When you were like massaging that kale, that was like dirty.
It was a little dirty.
Yeah, I think you had gloves on, but it was like.
I had gloves on and I'm like rubbing the kale like really intensely.
Why do you do that? What were you doing?
Well, it breaks up the, kale can be really crunchy and chewy and bitter. And so when you massage it, you like snap it and like literally the molecules come apart and it just makes it much more palatable. It's easier to eat.
Are you playing?
And it's fun.
Are you playing Neil Young's harmonica in the background between the segments or what?
No, that is my ex-husband, Jonathan Pointer, who's a songwriter. And that is his favorite song my favorite song of his, which is called Baby Smokers. It's about babies that smoke. It's very un-PC. But I knew that, so he let me use it.
That's so great.
Now it's become my theme.
Well, and the thing is you're starting it all off on the right foot, and obviously because of your experience. But it's so true. So people start podcasts or shows, and they use somebody else's music. It's like, what are you doing? That's not going to last. That's not going. You can't do that.
No, I knew I needed something clearable, and I have a friend with a music library, and I had my second choice was in there, but I just really this Smoking Babies was in my head, and we live in such a PC time that I think it's fun to just sort of like hit it right in the face. Start them young.
All right, you guys. Before we get to Madelene's story, I wanted to remind you to follow me on social media. You know why? Because you have to. At Storyworthy. It's that simple. Twitter's a blast. Get on Twitter. That's the one I like to jam to. And also go over to storyworthypodcast.com. Join my mailing list, of course. And Story Smash is obviously on hiatus because of this madness going on. But we will be back at the Improv as soon as they lift the ban. Madeleine, I don't know if you knew, but I have a game show. Did you know that, Madeleine?
I saw it. I mean, I did my research. I was a researcher, so
it's just super fun. Comedians spin a wheel. They tell a true 1-minute story on the topic. These judges, give witty banter, and that's the show. And people laugh their ass off.
I can't wait.
Yeah, so we're anxious to get back to that, you guys. So follow or check it out over there, Story Smash Show, yada, yada, yada. All right, you guys, she is here right now. Madeleine Smithberg, you've heard her. As I said, she is the co-creator of The Daily Show, as well as the former executive producer as well. And then, of course, you also did a lot of work on David Letterman's show, which I'm anxious to talk about. And you are the recipient of a Peabody and 2 Emmys from The Daily Show.
No, 2 Peabodys and an Emmy.
Right, and then 2 other Emmy nominations.
Yeah.
For Comedy Central's The Daily Show, which is a lot of fun. Correct. And you've been working with Letterman since 1987. I just think that's fabulous. I just think it's amazing. And then you were also the executive producer on other stuff, with Steve Harvey, who was amazing. Steve Harvey's Big Time.
Yep, I did that for the WB. I did a late night talk show for BET called Don't Sleep, which was hosted by TJ Holmes.
Amazing.
And my sort of second most proud little baby is I created a show for Al Gore's Current TV called Infomania, which was a sort of the next evolution of The Daily Show, not about cable news, but about the internet. And just a lot of super talented and wonderful people came out of that too.
You have got an amazing resume. I look at your IMDb and it's just like scrolling. It's just really exciting. A lot of documentaries. You've done a lot of docs, and that's super cool as well. And like I said, you guys, you have to watch Madeleine's new cooking show. You're going to crack up. It's called Mad in the Kitchen. It's on YouTube. Check that out. All right, you guys, wherever you are, put your hands together for Madeleine Smithberg.
Okay, Christine, I'm going to tell you a story that involves border collies herding sheep. on Late Night with David Letterman, where I worked from 1986 to 1992. And I was the human interest booker and eventually segment producer. And what that means is it's not stupid pet tricks. It's not stupid human tricks. What I was tasked with was somehow scouring the country without the internet. I had a crazy Rolodex. I had people at local features reporters at every network affiliate around the country, and Huell Hauser from California was like one of my sources, and I would go to state fairs. I would go to the Gourd Festival. Fairs, big, small, all over the country, scouting. And then I would bring those things on to the show. And it was a really incredible part of the show because it was the one part of the show that really was not scripted. And Dave didn't want to see we call them the demos. I would rehearse, or someone else would stand in for Dave during the rehearsals. And then he would come, and what would happen would just be total magic, and you would see the real genius of Dave.
I was just going to say that. I don't mean to interrupt, but it's like that's amazing to hear that there was nothing scripted in there, because those were some zingers from him that came out that were just like genius from him.
Yeah. No, it was awe-inspiring. I used to say that Dave had like this Platonian, as in Plato, thing where there's this ideal joke. This is how I interpreted it. And that Dave would open his mouth and effortlessly out would come the perfect joke. It was incredible. So I really enjoyed my job, and I loved working there. And so I went to the Texas State Fair, and I was scouting for Letterman. And at the Texas State Fair was a thing you could go watch. It was Border Collies Herding Sheep, and there was this really lovely man from Ireland, and he had these amazing dogs that could understand 36 different whistles, and he could send the sheep out, and he could have them go right, left, come around, come back, and they would do it. So I knew Dave was going to love these dogs because they were just like, you can't figure out. I know so many humans that aren't that intelligent, and I booked it, and we brought it to our studio in 30 Rockefeller Plaza. And during the rehearsal, we had 5 sheep. We had sourced the sheep locally, and they didn't really know the dogs. And during rehearsal, they got loose, and they started just jumping through the audience area, which we realized would have been terrible had people been sitting in the seat. And then they somehow got out of, we were herding them out of the studio to the elevator. And the joke was they were going to go get in a taxi, but they never did. They just got in the elevator. So we opened the door of the studio in the rehearsal, and way too many big, giant, unruly sheep go right into the Live at 5 news set. And they're on the air. And they're doing promos. And Sue Simmons, who was like, the host, was like, oh, David Letterman. So when it came time to do the 10th anniversary special, which was a very big deal, and we did it in Radio City Music Hall, Dave requested Border Collies Herding Sheep. So I called the man, and he agreed, and he and the dogs came, and we found a new source of local sheep. And once again, we brought in too many. I don't know why we didn't learn. So what you don't know is that Radio City Music Hall is a national landmark, and that means everything. The carpets are national landmarks. Like, what a crappy national landmark! Like a piece of carpet. Like, come on, give me a church. But anyway, everything in it is. So we had a lot of restrictions. So we put out plastic on the floor. And those dogs held those sheep on that piece of plastic for 3 hours. Just by looking at them funny, and the sheep were frozen. So now we do the rehearsal. Once again, it's a fiasco. It was like a deja vu all over again, except now the seats weren't just our seats in the studio. They were these national landmark seats, and the sheep were jumping all over. So we built a ramp that was going down, but we only had 15 minutes to do this rehearsal, and then we had to move on. It was a huge show with many elements and an all-star band, and Bob Dylan played. And I had everybody on our staff was a wreck. Like for 2 months, there was nothing you could think of. I booked Chrissy Hind and Roseanne Cash and in the all-star band. And I, of course, was stressing, and they had come to me and they had said, okay, you need to write the intro to Sheep. And I go, it's a week before the show. And they said, no, we're putting them on gigantic, like 6-foot-tall cue cards, and we're painting them with giant paintbrushes. So I sat looking at my typewriter. It was a typewriter. It was an IBM Selectric, just to tell you how much in the oldie timey days this was. And I drew a blank. Nothing could come out of me because all I could see was this giant, like billboard that it was going to appear on. And every day the cue card guy would come in. It was actually Kevin Kay. And he would go, I need your intro. And I was like, I can't do it. Like, it was the worst case of writer's block anyone's ever had. It was like a psych out. So anyway, we hadn't slept. We're all watching clips where we get there. We're in Radio City. We do the rehearsal. Okay, so the sheep are going to go off the stage, down a ramp, down the aisle, which was all covered in the plastic because it's a national landmark aisle. And then they were going to go out and into a taxi, which we had coated in plastic. We took out the seats and coated it in plastic. And the joke was they were going to the airport. So we have this tiny window of time to do this rehearsal. We have 15 minutes. And when we're 12 minutes into it, so there's 3 more minutes, this man that I've seen sort of hovering introduces himself to me. And he is from the ASPCA. And he said, I need you to show me everywhere the sheep are going to be. And I was like, I can't really do that. Like, we only have 3 minutes. He goes, no, I'm going to shut you down. And so I told my director, Hal Gurney, I was like, they're going to shut us down. We got to go do this. So we run him through the thing. And he's taking notes. I'd like to see this plastic thicker. And we go down, and now he goes, let me see the taxi. So we go to see the taxi, and he goes, ooh, we have a problem. I need this plastic tripled. There are things. And so I said, what are you really concerned about? And he said, I'm worried about the stress to the sheep. And at that point, I lost it. I was like, the stress to the sheep? They don't have to write an intro on a 10-foot high poster board cue card. They haven't been up for day and night for the past 6 weeks. The sheep. And the guy, the Irish owner of the Border Collies, whispered in my ear, but like a stage whisper, he goes, is he aware that they're sheep? That they live in rocks and crags and such? And then he goes, does he know they're lamb chops minus 8 days? And I just was like, no, he really doesn't. And it went off great. And they got into the cab and they drove away, and it was an incredible segment. But that man was not my friend.
Wow. Madeleine, I remember that episode. Absolutely. I remember that episode. That is so funny. So when did did he do an example at the show of the whistling and everything?
Yeah. I think he did. Yeah.
And how many were there at that point?
There were only 2. There were 2 dogs and I think 2 sheep. Because it just was chaos. It would be He's worried about stress to the sheep. I was worried we were going to kill an audience member.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That was a big deal. That was a big deal, the 10-year anniversary. Yeah. And you, of course, that was all Dave, that he wanted the sheep. So then that's what you
Yeah.
do. And you get
Yeah.
that.
I remember somebody came down the hall, I think it was Kathy Michaelsick, and said, Dave really wants the Border Collies herding sheep. And I just went,
Yeah.
yay.
Here we go.
Like, here we go. I mean, I wanted to be front and center. I knew it was going to have nightmarish implications, and it did, but it was a great memory.
I remember when Dave took the show on the road. I'm sure you were with him at this time, at maybe 89, and he was in Chicago.
Best week of my life.
Okay, I was at one of those shows. I think he did 2 or 3 shows, but I was
We
at
did
one of them.
4. We did a week of shows.
Right, we had to wait. We waited about maybe 9 hours in line. Like the line was wrapped around the building, and we would take turns. It was super fun. It was like 2 couples. We were like taking turns. So we'd run out and do stuff, and they'd come back and relieve them, and they'd run out. And you guys had Emo Phillips on the show that night. I remember that. And we were just so excited. Like David Letterman, it was like a mania.
It was, and I shared it before I worked there, I had been working for RAI Italian television, and people were talking about Letterman, but there was no internet. You couldn't go like watch a clip. So one night I decided I'm going to stay up really late because it was on at 12:30, and I was working, and I saw the show, and it wasn't like an entertainment experience. It was like a calling.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to work here, and I would like make it my job, and then it would happen. I really sort of like pursued it and focused on it. And I don't necessarily believe that you can visualize something and make it happen. I believe you can visualize something bad and make it happen really easily.
Yeah, really.
But no, this has actually given me hope in the process.
At the time, it was like Johnny Carson, The Tonight Show was like for the older people, and Letterman was the whole new generation. So he started doing all these stupid things like throwing watermelons off the roof or throwing off a radio, all those things that we did as a kid. Like my brother and I, we would just throw stuff out the window, all my brothers and sisters, because there was nothing else to do. We were all so bored. We'd just throw radios out the window or whatever we could come
That's
upon.
Hilarious. No, it had a very sort of playful, childlike.
Yes.
It was almost like he'd been allowed in, and he was just going to take every single part of it apart and put it back together in a quirky, unusual, unexpected, different way. And it was, for me, it was graduate school. It really was. It was 6 years of just, training me to be a showrunner and really understanding all of the mechanics and all of the, the people that it takes to do it.
Now, you grew up in Binghamton, New York. You went to school
No,
there.
No,
you didn't. I thought it was Binghamton.
That's I went to college in Binghamton. I grew up in Manhattan. I'm second generation Manhattanite.
Oh my God, that makes me laugh because I was just going to say, like, how did you afford Manhattan when you're working on Letterman? Did you know somebody from college?
My parents.
So they lived in Manhattan. That's what you were able to stay at home.
No, I actually I stayed at home for a little bit, and then when my friend Susanna Aaron graduated, her uncle had an apartment in the Village, and we rented it for like $500.
I'm just curious because all of New York life amazes me, just in terms of the difference between LA and New York and all that stuff. It doesn't matter. So let's move on then. When you finished up with Letterman, by the way, did you hear Letterman by any chance last week with Howard Stern?
With Howard Stern, I saw like clips. I really want to watch the whole thing. I really want to watch it. He's amazing. I love Dave.
He was like just so happy to be there with Howard, and then his dog.
The dog was so. I want to laugh.
Very sweet. Oh, they're the best animals ever. The best.
They really are. Labs and any kind of retriever.
Yeah. Oh, I know. They're the best dogs ever. They really are. They're just happy for everybody. They're happy. They're just joyful for everybody.
I know. I want to be a golden retriever in the next life.
I know. I wouldn't mind that. Or my cat. My cat is probably the happiest animal of all time. And by the way, she's loving that I'm home all the time now because, here we are. You have a son, don't you?
I do. My son is 22 years old. And I just had to text him to remind him to call me for Mother's Day because I couldn't bear it if he forgot. So I did a preemptive can we FaceTime on Mother's Day? And he was
Aw.
like, oh, see, of course. But no, he is the joy of my life. He is a second semester senior at Chico State, which actually has turned out to in Northern Cali, but it's turned out to be a gift because he signed up for all these morning classes and then never went to them. So he has to do an extra year. And I am so relieved because I would feel so bad
Oh, I
for the
know.
kids that are coming out of school now, no graduation and they're coming into a broken economy.
Yeah, it's
Like,
a oh my
there's
gosh.
no jobs, no one's going to hire anyone.
I know.
It's just depressing. So I said to him, Harrison, I don't know, but you kind of pulled it out again. Like, just now he gets another year to like live off campus in a small town in Northern California.
What
And
does he think about your cooking?
well, he was he was one of my test subjects, so he grew up with a lifetime of my cooking, and a lot of his friends are so sweet and really appreciative. They were like, "We always love everything you make. We always want to come to your house so we can eat your food." So, I mean, I was training on him.
Yeah, that's a good way to get the kids to come around as well. Just, if there's food, there's people.
Yeah, yeah. I loved cooking for them. Like, we had a big house in Coldwater Canyon, and it was like the sleepover house. So I had like, 5 boys every Friday and Saturday, and I would make big breakfasts and make
So
them lunch
nice.
and grilled cheese sandwiches. And
The other thing that's exciting about your cooking show is there's a lot of ways you can go. I don't have to tell you, but I mean, there's a book. And then I was thinking about you could do one of the episodes could just be like for kids' food because I have like a 13-year-old and she would, she's not going to touch some, whatever.
yeah. No, totally kids' food. We can break it down. I'm thinking that, when I become an internet star, I would like to do my own line of mitts and tongs.
Totally. Mitts, tongs, and the jacket or some sort of apron.
Yeah, aprons,
Dish towel would be nice.
dish towel, definitely scissors because I love
Oh, I know.
scissors
I
because
see you with the cutlery scissors. You get so excited.
I love them.
Here's the thing with the cutlery scissors, and I have some because they even say Cuisinart, which I know they're for the kitchen, not for the garden or whatever, because they say that. But they end up getting used to cut paper or anything else in my house.
No, I keep mine in the kitchen and they're dedicated. And you can even sharpen them if you have a simple knife sharpener or that stick. And I can go through some of that stuff too. I do think a tutorial on tools and a tutorial on ingredients would go really far.
I think so too. My friend is so into cutting up. My friend Carolyn, she's so into cutting up like anything she has with those cutlery scissors. And sometimes it looks a little odd that you're cutting like meat. Like, I don't know.
I love it. Did you see the chicken?
I
But my
did.
favorite use of it is herbs. Like, you've just made this whole meal and you got to chop parsley and you're just like, I don't want to. You just take your scissors and you chip, 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 and you are done.
Or like you do with the rosemary, you just pull it right off.
I pull the rosemary right
That's
off.
cool.
I just pull that off and I plop it in.
If you get me to watch a cooking show, something must be good about it. And it's the humor. It's the humor, but also okay, so it's the casualness of the show because you're in your regular kitchen, but it's also the slickness because you know what you're doing. In other words, those graphics are coming in and the editing is slick.
Yeah, he's doing an amazing job. Sky Gleason, Clapping Tree Media. He's doing it.
And one more thing, we got to wrap it up. So, Madeline, you were the co-creator, of course, of the Daily Show with Liz Winstead, yeah,
Liz Winstead, we were neighbors in Chelsea.
right. And then you go on to be the executive producer. You're the showrunner, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you work with not only Craig Kilborn for a couple of years, then Jon Stewart, and then Trevor Noah. And here,
I never worked with Trevor Noah.
oh, I thought you were on when he was on.
No.
Okay.
Nope. I left in 2002 to
Oh,
try to be a mom. I wanted to be the world's greatest mom. I wanted that mug.
I hear that.
And it was impossible to do working till 8:30, 9:30 every night. Like, there wasn't enough me to go around. And
And as you look back, because I'm a mom, as you look back, is that not the best decision you ever made?
best decision I ever made.
I swear to God, dude, I was like a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. I started the moms club in my community, and I was like so hands-on as a mom that people thought I was out of my mind. And you know what? Best thing I ever did in my life.
It's the best thing. If I if I had not, and I ended up adopting my son when he was 2 days old. I went through like 2.5 years of really horrible fertility interventions, failed in vitro forced surgeries, tons and tons of drugs that were very unpleasant. It was like a constant state
Oh,
of PMS for like 2 years, with just disappointment at every turn. Uh, and then it was just like doing canceling the wedding or deciding to do Mad in the Kitchen. It was like I woke up one day and it was just so clear
yeah. Oh, I
of
love that.
what my path was, and I was like,
Yeah.
I am going to adopt.
It's amazing. It's an epiphany when you have
It
those.
was an epiphany.
They happen in life. All of a sudden, something just drops, and it's like, oh, got it.
You get clarity, and it's so interesting how we go through so much of it with blinders on and just like in a tunnel and just getting from one you know point A to point B and missing where we are. And so I woke up one day and I thought, let's adopt. And when I went in to try to adopt, I found out there was a 2-year waiting list for white babies, but that you could get a mixed race child in a lot less. And I thought, has anyone ever seen a white baby? Why does anyone want one of those? Like, I'll take one
That's
of those hybrids.
awesome. So
And
great.
my son is
Aw,
he's a friggin' superstar,
so
and
great.
he's so beautiful and so sweet and so funny.
Well,
And
those moments when they're so young like that, like I think to myself, like, I wouldn't have paid somebody to take that from me. Like people pay people to take that time away from them. And I don't like
oh,
I
I only got a 6-week maternity leave, and afterwards, my boss at Comedy Central, this was during the Daily Show, Eileen Katz, when she had her son, she ended up apologizing to me retroactively. She's like, I had no idea. I was like, 6 weeks? Like, what is that?
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. But when you were at the Daily Show, here's what I wanted to get to. I don't know, do I say discovered or do I say you found?
Hired.
hired you hired Steve Carell, Ed Helms, Rob Corddry, Mo Rocca, Louis Black, Stephen
Stephen
Colbert,
Colbert.
and it goes on and on. And so I'm just trying to get my head around this. Steve Carell, for instance, I mean, he is a massive star.
I know. So is Ed Helms. So is Colbert, obviously.
Right.
Uh, yeah, I was always looking for correspondents and contributors for the show, so it was constantly meeting with talent. And the Colbert one is hilarious. This agent called me up, named Mike August at WME, which at that point was WMA, and he goes, "Hey, I think I have a correspondent for you." And he sent me over this tape, and it was from the Dana Carvey show, which I think did like 3 episodes on ABC. It was a primetime sketch show. Uh, and I pop it in my gigantic VCR. It was a 3/4 inch tape. It goes like clunk and a clunk and a clunk and a clunk, and kind of like a Rube Goldberg contraption. And I watched this tape, and it's a bunch of sketches, and they're all really funny. And then there's one, and it's called Waiters Who Are Nauseated by Food. And Stephen Colbert is the waiter, and he's trying to tell the specials to the person who's sitting there, and he can't get it out because he's like gagging. He's so nauseated. I called Mike August and I said, send him over right now. So Colbert comes over. He's clearly a genius. And 6 weeks later, I feel like an idiot, but I go, I'm gonna call Mike August again. Hey, this is gonna sound absolutely insane, but do you have another one? And he goes, yes. Go back to the sketch you loved, and the other waiter is his best friend and writing partner, Steve Carell.
Oh
And
my
so I go,
God.
all right, send him over, and that's how it started.
That is unbelievable. That is
And it was at
unbelievable.
a time where I could see talent, like the talent, put it on the air. No one had to approve it. There was no like months and months of like vetting, and like right now the
Oh,
whole
you
industry
have to
is like,
have the agent to begin with, or nobody's going outside the agency.
yeah, and the network needs approval, and all of it, all of it, all of it. And the last 10 years for me were, by the way, so unbelievably soul crushing. that I'm happy to be out of it, but back in it in a way that I'm in control.
Yeah, I don't blame you. All those shows, The Daily Show, I mean, they're so needed, especially now. And I also find those shows rather complicated, or they must be complicated to produce because you have to obviously see the news at hand. So there's the daily news, what's happening, but then there's also you have to find out the joke and the fact.
Thank you.
There's two
It
levels.
was. We used to think we went to Washington for a week, and we were cross pollinating with the Nightline team. It was still Ted Koppel, and we went to visit them, and they were having so much fun. There was all this like pranks going on, and everyone. And I thought they have such an easy job because we have to do their job, and then we have to start doing our job. Like, we have to, like, record it, we have to write the copy and the point of view, we have to get the video and the photos, build the graphic, and then I always used to say The Daily Show was like 3 different shows because we had the act 1, which was the headlines, and
Right.
then whatever we would do off of the headlines, and there would be field pieces, which we had, like, 8 producers, and we were sending people all around the country with 5 edit bays going at any given time, and then in the third act, then there'd be the interview, so it was a talk show. And then in the third act, we would do these sort of like out at the movies or God stuff, which was we would look at, uh, televangelists misusing the airwaves, and did one called Ad Nauseum, which would be all about commercials, and we would just do these sort of like things that you could do ahead, like
Yeah.
they were
The moment of Zen.
Well, the moment of Zen was my cat. The moment of Zen was I had a cat. Her name was Lillian, and we used to watch the CBS morning show with Charles Carlton. At the end of the show,
At your house, you're just talking about.
at my house,
Yeah.
my ex-husband and I, and the cat, very unfriendly cat, but may she rest in peace, 9 times. But at the end of the show, Charles Carlton will go, "Now we leave with footage of the northern osprey nesting in the wetlands of eastern Wyoming." And you would just watch, they'd play 2 minutes of the ospreys nesting.
Yeah, it'd be
And
totally silent except for a nature piece. Yeah.
then, so what I decided was we should end our show with the most depressing or disturbing piece of footage. And that became the moment of Zen. So my cat should really get a writing credit.
Because she's the one who got into it first.
Yeah, she suggested it to me. She brought it to me.
You
She's
crack
the
me
Mike
up.
August of the moment of Zen.
I see. You are so funny. You crack me up, man. I am so thrilled to find you and meet you and know about your cooking show, which just is killing me. It's so fun. So, do you plan to drop once a week? Is that the plan?
Once a week, probably on Fridays. I'd be in the middle of the day. I don't want to do it too late. If you have any suggestions on what's the best time to drop, I can. But we need to shoot on the weekends because Sam is working full time,
Sure.
even if it's from home.
Yeah.
I need him to,
Well, you have
follow.
to think it out too, obviously. I mean, this is.
Oh God, I have to shop. I have to plan.
That's what I
have to
mean.
think it out. I have to prep
Yeah.
the ingredients, and I'm still playing with it. It's still very new to me.
Yeah.
But it's been really fun, and it's been really fun to see people's reaction, and people are making the food and sending me pictures.
Oh, great. That's fun. I also love how you stand in the kitchen afterward and you eat it.
I do.
I like that part. That's great.
I am cooking for me. Like, I really want my food to have complex and delicious flavors, and it's not hard.
I love when you look at food and you could tell what it is. Like, and the same with baking. Like, I like to bake cookies and stuff. And I think when you buy cookies from the store and then you look at the back of the cookies at the store and there's like this many ingredients, like how can there be 50 ingredients when I just made cookies and I used 5?
5 flour, butter.
Yeah, so
sugar.
I like that with your cooking too, that you could see it. You see what it is. It makes sense.
Yeah, each ingredient has a purpose. So, well, anyway, this has been so much
Thank you
fun.
so much. I really appreciate it. You guys definitely check out Mad in the Kitchen over there on YouTube. And then, of course, follow me on social media at Storyworthy. Is your social media now at Mad in the Kitchen?
It is. I have to change it on Twitter, but I will right now.
All right, you
Okay.
guys, thank you so much again for tuning in today. I really appreciate each and every one of you, especially during this difficult time. Please wear your masks and stuff, you guys, honestly, because when you do that, it's like, more than anything, it's like respectful. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm helping you out and you're helping me out. I'm looking out for your well-being and you look out for mine. So please, you guys, wear your goddamn mask. Thank you. All right, you guys, one more time on behalf of the very talented Madele Smithberg. Thank you so much, friend.
You are so welcome. It was super fun.
My name is Christine Blackburn, saying, make it a story-worthy week.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy Podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.
Something you probably do know. Progressive can not only offer you a great price when you bundle home and auto, they offer you round-the-clock protection. Something you probably don't know, the average oak tree branch can hold 70 pounds. Something you probably do know, your neighbor is building their kid a treehouse. Something you probably don't know, a falling treehouse would take out your whole fence. Bundle your home and auto with Progressive and get more than a great price. Get round-the-clock protection. Something you know for the things you don't know. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers and subject to policy terms. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Membership fees apply after free trial. Cancel anytime.
Hi, it's Carl Deichler, CEO of Beachbody, and I'm giving away 10,000 free memberships a week to try our amazing Beachbody fitness and nutrition programs. Pick any program and just follow it step by step, like our 21-day fix program or the ab shredding muscle burns fat program. Plus, there's free support in personalized fitness groups with our community of over 2 million members. Now is the time, so don't wait. Go to beachbody.com to claim your free membership and start feeling great.